Hello and welcome to this week's Energy Shot podcast. We are Matt Taylor. My name is Nicole Ercolani, and we decided to do this podcast series in order to give you a weekly update on Matt, what's the astrology of the week, and some coaching tools, some energetic tips and tools, so you can link to the higher realms and maneuver yourself better through time and space. Hi Matt, how are you this week?
Very well. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm yet another dog sitter week for me. I became apparently the VIP dog
Puppy, no?
Yeah, of all my friends and family. So
there's some work there.
Yeah, there's some work in there. So the night
little puppies.
Yeah, puppy sitter. Somehow, but she's asleep now. You can see, for those of you that don't look the video, it's on YouTube. You can see the dog sleeping in the back. It's a French bulldog. Her name is Lunar. So, how's the lunar cycle?
Appropriate. Very appropriate.
Yeah, no? She could be an astrologer's dog, but she's not. Ooh, Max. So, what's
my dog just went crazy. The
Max
thoughts.
Is not happy with the situation.
Okay, so let's just recap the lunar cycle that we're in. We're in the lunar cycle of Cancer.
Yes.
Cancer is ruled by the moon, so we are in a very moony, watery month. We're in coming into the second week of the month of 4 weeks, and so we are about to go into the full moon at the end of this week, which is the full moon of Cancer is always in Capricorn. The Capricorn is the opposite sign in the chart. So this is the full moon that we'll be coming into. We will have in this week a lot of earth energies and a lot of water energies. So Capricorn is earth. It's beginning this week, this energetic week in Scorpio, which is a water sign. And we are in a water sign. So there's going to be a lot of water and earth. Water and earth tend to go well together because they're more the internal aspect of us, the inside. Mm-hmm. So we're more stimulated this week in the internal aspect of us. So feelings, the intuition, sensitivities, mercy, kindness, compassion, structure, putting things in order, thinking about things in a sequential way. So, these earth and water are more the internal aspects. So it's more of a deep dive inwards this week. So this is more reflective. And particularly the Cancer and Capricorn axis is about roots or origins, traditions, countries, homes. It's very much this kind of flavor. So this is particularly what we're reflecting on or more conscious of in this week. Because the week begins with Scorpio, the Scorpio brings out the deeper issues that are underpinning these kinds of origins. So what is underpinning my home, my family, my tribe, my roots, my origins, what else? My nation. So this is the kind of energies that will come up. So often, the moon beginning the week in Scorpio, it will set a theme for power, authority, the intensity, and secrets, things that are happening underneath, deep down, about these issues around my roots or my tribe or my nation, my house, my family, these kinds of areas. So let's look at some examples that have happened this week, like in the past week, because we also talked about last week, because the moon started with Leo. I talked a lot about leadership. And so through the week, we saw what I thought were 4 very interesting things around leadership. One was the continuation of the downfall of the leadership in the US, particularly looking weaker, inability to really function, losing the way, losing the path. So this was a lot in the news last week, even though it's already part of it, it was heightened. We saw in Sri Lanka, I don't know if you saw it, but there's actually thousands, tens of thousands of people take to the streets to take over the presidential house and the parliament, and they're not leaving until all the ministers of their parliament are out. Wow. So that was very interesting last week as well. So if you go and you look on YouTube, you just see tens of thousands of Sri Lankans taking to the streets and actually taking over the house. Of course, last week, most famously, we had 50 ministers of the British Parliament resign because of the lack of trust in the Prime Minister. So it brought the downfall of the British Prime Minister. And then also in Israel, it's the downfall of the party due to something to do with money and, doing the wrong thing with it. I didn't get clarity on it. I didn't really look at it. But there was four, significant things that happened last week with leadership. So this week, it sort of continues. It's not because we've got all this home and nation energy or tribe or, what's happening in my roots, in my origins, this will continue. But Scorpio brings out what is happening in the underworld. What is the espionage? What is the secrets? What is the things that people have hidden? What is hidden in the family? What is hidden in my tribe? What is hidden in my nation? Bringing these out more and more. Capricorn, as it comes later in the week and the moon goes into the full moon in Capricorn, it will reveal, particularly in corporates, in workplaces, in government as well, institutions, and all of those places that need to be accountable. So we will see more and more purging of these unaccountable areas. It's a big kind of like month of summer, I would say. Even after we are not in Cancer anymore, there's still a lot of energies with work practices, being paid correctly, all of these kind of financial issues, trade issues. So I'll talk about those a little bit more, but it's setting up for more and more instability, I would say, and uprisings, revolutions, protests, taking over big things, leading big things, all of this stuff.
What's also really interesting, what happened last week, after 3 years of renovation and like putting up to date, the CERN in Switzerland and Geneva got back up again, and they started testing again. And what's really interesting, in the same time, all those governments and all those leadership topics were falling, in the spiritual community, what you heard a lot was, oh my God, what is this energy? What is going on with this energy of the CERN? Like, and even here, I could really, I could feel the shift in energy. People didn't sleep well. People reacted here in Europe. I don't know where you're listening from, but here in Europe, and I live in Switzerland, you can feel the change of energetic vibration. They're trying to open a black hole again. I mean, easy. This is what you do.
That's right. Well, we know in Northern Ireland that the government hasn't functioned there for ages. Ireland is talking about reunifying as one country. I think 2 weeks ago, the Scottish National Parliament that rules Scotland talked about leaving the UK and want a referendum again. So these kinds of things are very much in the energy at the moment, and we will continue to see them, even in rather stable countries. What we perceive as stable countries is, it won't be just it'll be anywhere, and so we will see further struggles, particularly this week. It'll be more of this underground things coming out, secrets, powers, authority, this kind of revelations of things, right, that we know are hidden. So we will see more than that. So it's great examples, I think, of all the things that are happening. One of the other interesting things that sort of connects into it's very different things, but they're all connectable in the chart at the moment, is that Mars has gone into Taurus. Now, Mars is a kind of attack energy, a fire energy, a heat energy. It's what gives us our desire, our passion, our intensity to achieve goals and go out and do things, right? So it's not all bad. And in Taurus, the potential of it is that we really take a look at our finances, our security, often the superficial things like my self-image, money. They're all important things. Mars in there can give us a lot of esteem, where we may not feel good about ourselves, or we feel bad about how we look, or where we thought we couldn't make money, or where we thought we couldn't do something. It's good at giving us self-value, good at giving us self-esteem. So it pumps up our senses of self very nicely, right? But the challenge is that the Taurus represents the earth in the chart, the physical earth. And of course, Mars being in there, what it does is it gives more potential for things like fires, heat waves, volcanoes, potential arson, those sorts of things. And we know there's a heat wave coming this week down the track. So Mars will be in Taurus for 6 weeks. And because there's what's coming into this in summer, it's a set propensity for it to have a little more energy than if it was in winter with these kinds of things. So the timing for Mars to be in Taurus really will shift into these kinds of potential Earth challenges, situations, problems, right? The other thing that is also already in the world that Mars could boost more is that we have inflation, right? So Mars could really boost that senses of inflation. It could really increase it even more, right? So what it could also do, because we have trade wars simmering under the surface that aren't really obvious, but we're leaving globalism and we're going back to tariffs and protections and borders, right? We're going into a block mentality, right? Where the globalization is more or less fallen and we're creating blocks, right? So there's a China-Russia block, there's a sub-Saharan African block, there's a European block, obviously, and there's a North American block, right? And there'll probably be a South American block forming too, right? So we're moving more into these trade blocks ideas. So underneath all of that unraveled globalization, we're putting in more protections. But underneath that, with the fall of Bitcoin, there is also trade and financial disputes that can come in when already there's tensions there. So Mars could really lift that and heat these kind of the financial markets, right? It could make the financial markets aggressive. So this is something where look out for in the world. Now, we already have this political instability. We have people on working class and low incomes can't survive on their wages, right? We have situations where there are these creations of blocks and people trying to get their land mass and get their people into their block, which is the principle of the Russia-Ukraine war. So these kinds of things will increase through the week as well, especially because Mars also began the week in Scorpio, which is a kind of it's an attack energy as well. So Mars rules Scorpio, so there's a kind of energies of attack. Now, if we brought this down to our personal level, it could mean...
That was my question.
Right.
Like I had it in my head.
I kind of felt something coming, so I thought, well, this is maybe it. If we bring this down to our personal level, and this is really a week where we are kind of either get up and do something about, your insufficiencies, your lacks, where you're not rooted, where you're not grounded, where you don't feel that something is really cemented in your thing. So feeling cemented or feeling rooted, that is water and earth energies. Feeling, intuitive, sensitive, and Earth is rooted, grounded, structured stuff, right? So where do I feel not rooted and grounded? And there are two options. We can fall into it's not fair. I feel betrayed. I feel attacked. I feel like somebody's hurt me about it or wounds about it, which is fine. We may need to heal on things. Or we can feel as though we can move forward, which is be careful also because there's a heat in it, which may mean that we're just moving forward too aggressively. So we really, like with all these issues that we're going to face this week, as normal, we call for some kind of like balance, you know, that we're not being aggressive about it and we're not being victim-y about it. It's a natural tendency on the right column, left column energy. So the right column is how energy flows in with compassion, kindness, mercy, patience, all of those energies. The left column is how energy flows into the system with desire, action, thought, truth, honesty, let's go get them goals and achieving. So we need to blend those energies together. We can't bring one of them to match. We're constantly trying to blend that. And this is your energies of natural senses of assertion of yourself to do that, but also with some senses of awareness about what you're doing, right? Not too much sort of aggression or heat. Mars coming into Taurus, it sort of really brings in a lot of things that we want to get done. We can be very assertive about things that are very practical in the earth, such as fixing my finances, such as putting in a better work-life balance. Yeah, because Taurus by nature is also very passive, not passive, but very peaceful sign. So a blend of Mars, which is more aggressive, and a blend of the passive can mean that you have to action that. It doesn't just naturally happen. You have to want to desire to bring those two energies together. Taurus is particularly interesting because it has two planets in it now that shouldn't be there, right? They're not natural to a Taurian senses. Taurian senses are much more right column, compassion, kindness, peace, mediating things, having things beautiful, having things lovely. Mars and Uranus are much more left column energy, which is get up and change and do something and have a desire to some objectives, some goals, right? So again, it's the propensity, if we're not careful, to fall too far into either side. Yeah, where instead of blending these energies together through our own free will. That's what free will essentially is blending these left column energies and these right column energies to make a central column, to make a balance, to make a zen, right? So whatever we're doing, it comes through this kind of blending of I'm going to take some left column energies, some right column energies, and have these more equilibrium. And I think that should be the energy that will help us go forward. But if we fall into one side or the other, which is very, very capable this week, then we will see extremes of aggression or passiveness.
Would you also say it's this week, especially in this Taurian energy, about I know in the Kabbalistic worldview, we don't speak a lot of masculine and feminine, but would you also say to use more spiritual terminology, that it's also balancing your inner masculine and feminine, masculine meaning daily structure.
That's right. So more in the more in the neo spirituality, we use this masculine and feminine. I try to steer away from it because it tips into political issues and people get a bit confused. But if you, that's right.
Put their knowledge on to
that's right. And also we're very much with the feminine energy, and people get confused that that's everything. You know, we should all be feminine energy.
No,
I don't have a problem with it. But again, if you tip it into too much feminine energy, you actually lose your identity. Also, if you tip yourself too much into the left column energy, you're consumed with it. You're the only identity in the world. It's all about you, right? The other one is victimhood. The other one is complete aggression. So you're exactly right. You're taking these two energies and always blending them together. And that Kabbalistically is the only real free will that you have. Like, because that's the way you do. Like, if I have Zen inside me, then everything around me will have some order, some peace, and Zen to it, right?
Because everything is resonance.
That's right, exactly. So I can't control what happens in the outside world, right? Obviously, there's so many things happening in the outside world. Well, also what happened this week as well in terms of politics is, my degree is in Japanese, so there's strange things I know about the country, but there was a prime minister called Shinzo Abe, who was a prime minister for 9 years, and this is very weird because Japanese prime ministers go through every 18 months, 2 years, they change. There's a very complex
rotation.
Yeah. Well, he was shot this week and killed, assassinated. So last week, sorry. So there is a lot of things with politics and leadership and a sudden combustion of change that we talked about last week that will go through. Now, these kinds of upheavals and uproots of Uranus in Taurus, right, can mean that we react, and Mars is in there as an aggressor. So, this is all very much with these energies, but I can't control what that is outside of me. But the only way I really can control these kinds of things, if I want to take real control, is to really control the energy that I'm coming with into this world. Now, we will all be one or the other. I'm a right column person, right? But I can't go through this world only as a right column person, only in feminine energy, because I have a sense as a victimness and helplessness, right? That everything is beyond me. So I have to remind myself to bring in the left column energy so that I have a sense of identity and that I can do something, So together, when I combine these two energies, that brings me more into my balance, right? So we are all rooted on one side or the other naturally, and that's not a problem, whatever side you feel you're on. We were talking about this before the podcast, that you were dealing with some real get up and go getters and some real near left column energy, right? They're more in that, and they're working with you to obviously bring in a little bit of more right column, right? How to allow that into their life, but not to change them inherently, but just to be conscious of that. So that is what we're working on through this month.
Also say something about the leadership. I feel you're absolutely right with the leadership, with the politics and everything. I see even a different type of fall of leadership, not fall, but of a distortion of leadership. For example, at the moment, there is this Elon Musk storyline, which is also, he's a thought leader, action leader of our time, right? He's just he just does shit. He's like, oh yeah, I want to do that. And then he does it. He doesn't care. And really interesting. He has also a little bit of fall down last week with the children that are born of different women at the same time. And there's
yes, right. I saw something with him about that. Yes. I remember. Yes.
Also, from this, in the spiritual community, there are spiritual leaders which are also at the moment having a difficult time to hold their vibration. So I think the leadership topic is not only in politics. That's where it's very visible in the collective, and that's where it makes so much sense. But there is also a different type of aspect of leadership. And if you are like one of our listeners, if you're in your community a thought leader, a holder of a higher spiritual knowledge, a holder of maybe some new thought ideas, some action ideas, it might as well be that you are distorted in your own leadership. So that's what I feel is really important to understand as well. It's not only in the collective, because Mars is too close, right, to the sun to only be an outside collective planet. That's what I learned from you already.
That's right. Well, I really like that, because we can all assume roles that are not leadership. So in our family, we can assume we are not the leader because we are maybe of gender, or we are of an age, or I was born second and this is my older brother, or the father always did this, or the mother always did that, and we assume non-leadership positions subconsciously, right? Because of external physical things. in a business. He's the boss, she's the next boss, and that person is the boss, and I'm down here, so I just follow orders. Subconsciously we sort of remove ourselves from responsibility from a lot of things, right? So I think that we can really assume, I always find responsibility a very powerful energy. I think that responsibility and empowerment are very closely connected, are the same. I think if you say, I'm going to take responsibility for this, or I'm going to empower myself to actually do it, right?
Yes.
I know that the word responsibility can have a heavy feeling about, oh, I've got to do it.
Oh.
And I think there's another side to it that is like, I'm going to change this. I'm going to speak up about this. I've got ideas about this or whatever to improve things. It's really empowering. But often and you hear it in sessions that there's excuses for not doing that because this person is like this and this person says that and this person's got this personality. And we really can diminish ourselves, right, a lot. So I think that there's potential here in the chart this week to take that energy, and move forward with some things, but obviously not aggressively. We don't want to go too much into the other side. But I do think there's that sense of empowerment or strength or push forward, especially with the moon starting in the sign of Scorpio in the week, to really, to manifest, to transform. That's what principally Scorpio is about. So let's do that this week. Let's transform a lot of things that we don't want.
Yeah, I feel also to say that if you are triggered by any of the news that you saw last week about those governments and leaderships, if you're like, oh yeah, this is really bad, and if this triggers like negative emotions within you, like because everything is resonance, because life is a mirror. People have heard that one before. What I really feel to say is like, if you want to learn something this week, like look into the mirror, into yourself, and ask yourself, okay, where am I not being responsible for myself? Where do I not fulfill the role I should? Where do I take space where I shouldn't? Like with this, especially with the UK government, the guy had a role for a very long time, and he's like, he was very itchy for the society. It was a very a role that he played, which was very disturbing for a lot of people. It created a lot of tension. Boris Johnson was his name. Boris, the blonde one.
Yeah, that's his name.
Okay, and so the question, if something like that really triggers you, if you feel, oh, this is terrible, or also with the United States, what's going on, look where do I hold roles, or in what situations am I bringing a lot of disturbance? Where do I play the same role? Because it has something to do with you. And I feel this is like the job that we all have to do at the moment. We all, whatever we see in the outside world, either that's more in the spiritual realm or in the normal news realm, whatever, I feel very important to understand is like, if it triggers you, it has something to do with you. And then meditate on it. Like sit yourself down, close your eyes, and feel into, why is this triggering me? Where am I like this? I just saw that my button was open.
That's right. And then just the final thing is this Neptune sextile in Pluto that I talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's continuing. Both planets now are retrograding, and so this Neptune Pluto sextile with both the planets retrograding, it's really calling for a kind of showing of what's false or showing what's bogus in a reality. Yes, so we will draw up a lot of like what's false gurus, false thoughts, false traditions, things that we're clinging onto that don't serve us anymore. Bring up a lot of things that we thought were real, but it was covered with a smoke screen, right? So we will see, and I think moon starting in Scorpio will also bring up, as I said in the beginning, a lot of things that are hidden. So a lot of gunk will reveal itself in the week as well.
Oh, yeah,
That's
very
it.
positive.
Yes. So I think another thing is look out for what's false but appearing real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
this non-reality is a
So
huge topic.
it's a bit Bitcoiny. Yeah. It's a bit
Yeah,
Bitcoiny. These things that appear so amazing.
I love that
But,
it becomes an
but
adjective.
yeah, it's
Oh,
Bitcoiny.
this is
Those
very big.
false things appearing very real. I think in time Bitcoin will become something, but at the moment it's an illusionary like falseness, right? It's got something there that it's not real. It's not rooted in something, right? So this is kind of these kind of things that are looking bigger than what they are, yeah, or more than what they are. So these kinds of things will I think, just be obvious that they're false, more obvious that they're false in this week, and you'll be able to see some things that are, false evidence appearing real,
Yeah, I think this is a really great question for the week for our listeners. Like, look out for what is false and appears to be real in your life, within your reality.
Yes, that's
Because
right.
I love, like, when when we have our podcast and when I go through the week, I try to see, oh, what did Matt say, and what could this be, what could that be, where could that pay into. And I think this is a really good way to have more awareness, more consciousness in your day, more consciousness and awareness in your reality also. Like, what appears in my reality, what do I perceive as real as well? Because I never watch the news, I never read news since years. I don't do that. So we should rename the podcast into
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean,
I love that.
right. Well, we can do that, but I gather it from some amazing journalists who
Yes,
don't
yes,
like
yes.
the big media system, and they've got a lot of backing to start
And you have great
like their
experience
own
in that.
things on YouTube. They have and on YouTube they have like really professional like insights and views, and you can mix it around if you're. I mean, I'm a bit of a righty, a bit of a lefty. I'm easy to see both sides.
Yeah, totally.
But really, they go beyond just the politics of it, and they try to get more investigative journalism about it, and they have panels, and they get have people from different things. So it's other ways of. I don't like television like as a machine, so it's not just about the news for me. So, and I don't really like paper either, so for me, watching something more through this kind of like technology, with this kind of information, is much more to my energy. Yeah, it's much more modern for me. So
I think
so thank you. I try. So for me, it's about the device in which I'm using to get it, but also, as you say, it's about the quality of information, that it is just exploding the principal cause of it is trying to explode your emotion. You're trying to get into the real thing about it.
Yeah, what I also love so much about your way of presenting the news is, like, we speak on a week about the current astrology, and then you always find the evidence for what you said the week before. So I think what that does is it gives a real life connection between the planetarian situation here on planet Earth and what then is happening in the collective, so people can understand it in a more materialistic way, what those planets do. Because sometimes I feel that's also why I always try to give the eye perspective on the whole thing, because I think it's really important to work with the planetarian situations. But in order to do that, you need it has a certain way of thinking that you need, therefore, and maybe because you're such an expert in French, there is this expression where you say something like, the expert is blind to his expertise. So you don't even know what you know. And
right.
So for me, as a middleman for a little bit astrology knowledge, but not so much. It's like to do the translation between real life and astrology. I think that's really, really important for the people to really like understand, oh, I can use these planets. For example, me knowing Mars has entered Taurus, I will wear rose quartz and coral this week a lot. That's for sure, because I want to amplify this Martian energy.
To use the energy positively is to be proactive about a lot of earthy things. Yes.
Or when I know Mercury enters Cancer, I will do something about that, about this Mercurian energy with the emotions. I just want to work with those planets, and every planet has crystals to it. So I really want to do that. And so I think it's really, really, yes. Astrology and the news. I want to let us know what you think of the change. If that gives away more information on what we do, because I think it's really profound.
I think it's a great idea. Well, it taps it into a bigger picture, and also here on the personal level.
Yes, totally.
I liked it.
Your work is so profound and so deep and so special. So, yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for listening. It was a really big pleasure having you. We're looking forward to have you next week. And then we go from there.
Okay.
Have a great week. Bye.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, kapow.